Ladies and gentlemen, taking forward the topic of the next panel deliberating on thinking ahead, role of legal and regulatory compliances. The session will be chaired by Mr. Deval Valia, Senior Director and Head, West India Capital Markets and Investment Services, Colliers, India. Mr. Deval has over 15 years of work experience, having worked with financial institutions like Piramal, SBI and Axis Bank. As a seasoned investment and capital market professional, he has a proven track record of origination, evaluation, underwriting, structuring, leveraging, asset monitoring, and exits in real estate. Can we have you, sir, on the stage? Mr. Deval Valia. Can we have a round of applause, everybody? Introducing our speakers in the alphabetical orders, I welcome Mr. Amit Goenka, Managing Director and CEO, Nisus Finance. With over 25 years of experience in the industry, Mr. Amit is a visionary leader and professional responsible for over 7 billion USD of investments globally, with a focus of Middle East and Asia, and creating one of the foremost institutions in the financial service space. Mr. Amit founded Nisus Finance, a focused alternative manager with the aim of generating safe, risk-mitigated yields through opportunistic real estate investments in India. Can we have you, sir, on stage? Please welcome Mr. Amit Goenka, Managing Director and CEO, Nisus Finance. Mr. Anand Jagtiani, IRS, retired planner, strategist, versatile tax solutions. Mr. Anand has a legacy of over 37 years of services in the GST and customs. His areas of expertise has been mainly CE-led operations. He has worked for more than 6 years at the Commerce Ministry in various heads of Gujarat. He has joined the Development Commission of Mangaldas, Special Economic Zone in charge of all SEZs in Gujarat, except for Jamnagar and the head of the port partners riders. Round of applause and welcome Mr. Anand, IRS planner, versatile tax solutions. Next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Mr. Mudit, Shah, partner Cyril, Amarchand, Mangaldas. He's a corporate lawyer with an experience of more than 13 years. He regularly advises clients across sectors on various matters such as acquisitions, joint ventures, business transfers, commercial contracts, arrangements, infrastructure projects, real estate and banking and finance. Can we have a huge round of applause for Mr. Mudit Shah, partner Cyril, Amarchand, Mangaldas. The next panelist, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Prashant, Sarkhedi, Director, Nila Spaces Limited. He is CFA and a passionate professional and more than 25 years of experience in finance, accounting, fundraising and general management. He is a disciplinarian, has depth knowledge and insight on diverse subject matters, and possesses excellent organizational and a round of applause for Mr. Prashant Sarkhedi. Now over to the moderator to please take over the presentation.
suppliers, whether it is vendors, whether it is capital providers. So the number of stakeholders getting impacted is far too many for a very significant portion of their balance sheet or net worth. Unlike other sectors, for example, let's take aviation. There are well, of course, flyers will be impacted, but the capital employed by flyers as a percentage of their net worth will be too small for them to actually worry beyond a point. But that is obviously not the case for real estate. So I think that is inevitable. That I think 2 years is, I mean, in good case scenarios, I've seen 18 to 24 months, but I think it's dragged on and on and on, especially post-COVID with the caseload and what have you. And I think it's one of the worrying factors also for global investors as to how do you resolve an asset? How do you make it bankruptcy proof to start with? I think that's the first and foremost. So I think it's a writing on the wall, and enough endeavors are being taken now in that direction.
Sure. Mudit, if you, I mean, I'm sure you will have a legal perspective to this. What can be done to reduce this timeline? Amit spoke about, reducing the timeline from 2 years to probably weeks. Is it possible first? And what do you think legally, what should be done to do it?
Just to begin with, definitely, I echo the voice like it should definitely be reduced. Now, this lacuna per se, it's not just for a NCLT or maybe, for a real estate projects which are stuck at NCLT, it's across the judiciary system. So all those steps which you really need to take at a judicial level, you need to more particularly take at NCLT because it's a tribunal. It's not a court. It's a separate tribunal per se. While the idea of establishing tribunal itself is, for a quick, disposal of cases, but ultimately, unfortunately, that's not being achieved. So maybe, there are a couple of things what can be done at a very high level is, maybe some sort of major projects or major insolvency issues can be bifurcated and you create a special bench for it and try and treat it in an expedited manner. Because ultimately what happens is if timeline increases, your asset value erodes, which ultimately affects everyone and defeats the purpose of IBC per se. So one is, of course, you create special benches for special type of matters. You can, of course, streamline your process filings. More importantly, you need to curb the frivolous litigation, which is very relevant in IBC, because what happens is, even if, say, for example, if COC has passed a resolution, what we see is there is some of the other frivolous litigation being filed by non-successful RAs or whatever the issue may be. So maybe, NCLT should start looking at maybe passing some strictures or penalties or something, and you have a very crisp timeline even for those litigations. Right now, what 330 days we have is only for the resolution process, but no one really thinks about how to handle those frivolous litigations, which goes on way to the Supreme Court stage. I think what is going to happen, good news is that what we have seen in the newspaper is government has realized this, that real estate cannot be treated at par with all other sectors in IBC. They are planning to come up with a specific amendment in IBC. Hopefully, what we are hearing is it should be tabled in the monsoon session per se.
Sure.
So one of the good positive outcome what we are hearing and which is very likely to come is that they will treat IBC as a project specific, not at an entity level. It will be more on a project specific, which will of course help fasten your process. The rumors are that even it is likely that there will be a separate fast track process for real estate, but honestly we are not very sure right now. It's just a hope what we are having. So these are broadly the steps which definitely needs to be taken in mind.
Sure. And we all talk about foreign capital coming to India, real estate being benefited, but I'm sure with this measures taken, they will have more confidence in coming to India, because ultimately when they lend, they will also look at timeline for their stress resolution. And I'm sure this will definitely help them take a faster decision. Prashantji, coming to you, I'm sure you'll not like this question, but still I'll have to ask. The sale agreements between buyers and sellers are very lopsided. Time and again, courts have discussed standardizing those agreements to ensure parity in terms and conditions. Do you think this is feasible, considering that every transaction in real estate is different? If yes, what role legal will play in ensuring this, and how it will benefit all the stakeholders in consideration?
I think you rightly said that it's not my interest question, but yeah, standardization is not possible in the industry itself because each contract has different terms, different conditions and everything different. So what authority can give a guidelines, principal norms for that things to define a contract. It cannot be set it out that each terms can be defined by them and it could be incorporated into the contract. So my say is that principal authority should set up principal guidelines for that thing, which can be updated from time to time how the complaints are coming in and with resolution of that things.
Sure. So, Mudit, do you agree that there should be a standardization in documents, and what advantages, disadvantages this will bring to the table?
So I kind of agree with Prashantji that standardization is a very tough job. Like one size cannot fit all. Each project has its own nuances. There are investors, they'll have their own say. There are multiple parties, stakeholders. So definitely it cannot be standardized. But maybe so the issue was that there were a lot of one-sided contracts, which in a way honestly saying that it is not just in the real estate sector, it can be in any sector, whatever you pick up, more particularly in sectors which are facing, it's a B2C sector or a retail facing sector, because customer would tend to not have a power or a capability or capacity to negotiate pushback.
Yeah.
Now, drawing that analogy, same goes for the real estate sector. A developer is not going to sit and negotiate each sale deed or an agreement for sale with each unit holder. Of course, there can be some bits and plus and minuses, but it can't be really they can sit and negotiate. So it is, of course, they will prepare it keeping their interest in mind, irrespective of what the enforceability of provisions are. Now, having said that, courts did realize this to be an issue. They attempted to solve it in RERA. To a certain extent, they are successful. And as Prashantji mentioned, it's completely what they have done is they have created the four corners within which you can play. They have given some baselines that, these are the types of provisions should be there. They have given you a model form of contract with the liberty that, yes, you can customize it. You can, both the parties, if they consent, you can customize it. But you cannot go beyond those baselines. And if you go, it will be void and the RERA, whatever those principles are, they will be upheld. So maybe what can be done is, maybe in certain states what they have done is, RERA has only touched upon maybe some 4-5 key principles. I'm speaking about the central level of Central Act. Maybe what some states have done is they have enlarged the scope of those principles and made it a wider list of key principles which should be there and kind of favoring the customers so that they are not at suffering end. Maybe that is a thought process which can be evolved and taken seriously as a first step rather than just standardizing contract, which I don't even know practically is possible, nor legally I cannot say, because ultimately a contract is to be freely negotiated and signed with consent. So maybe standardization of principles is, yes, of course, a way to go ahead with, rather than looking at a standardization of agreement, irrespective of project, irrespective of, the sector of the building, what it is, residential, commercial. So it has to be a customized one.
Yeah, but what I was trying to mention here is that it should be fair to both parties. Currently, if you look at any contract or any sale agreement between a developer and a customer, I've always seen the clauses the developer puts in are very difficult for the customer to follow. However, the reverse is not true. So that is something that I wanted to discuss here, that has to go.
So just to give you an example, like say for example, maybe the first step would be you bring out more principles which should be there. Like say for example, giving from a personal experience, even if I went to buy a unit, I was not even entertained by the developer, with all due respect,
Yeah.
It was like as if you want to buy, you buy it, take it or leave it kind of thing. It's coming out from my personal experience. So I can kind of echo that voice, but so we are also advising a lot of developers, So they also have a lot of stakeholders, a lot of nuances, all those aspects into mind. So where the law should really come in is you give the guidelines, the principles which should not be breached by the developer. And those principles guidelines, of course, you keep on increasing or varying based on the needs, the market, the type of the project. Right now, we are not seeing principles being made based on the category or type of the project, residential, commercial, or whatever. So you can maybe enlarge that particular scope of principles, but it seems to be a distant dream for standardizing the agreement per se.
Yeah, but at least, you know, if you have the principles in place, I think it brings a lot of transparency to the system. When RERA came in, developers were very circumspect, but if you see now, I think a lot of customers are happy purchasing because RERA, everything is available on the website. So as long as you start standardizing things, make it more transparent, I think at the end, developers will also benefit, is what I would say.
Completely agree. It boosts your investor confidence,
sure,
retail customers' confidence.
And also the investors' confidence to invest in that project.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it will be criminal of me to come to Ahmedabad and not talk about Gift City. And here we have an expert in Gift City, and we are very lucky to have Anandji here with us in the panel. So Anandji, my query to you would be, what are the advantages to be in the Gift City? Because I'm a layman here. So I think you are the best person to answer. And how would a person benefit coming to a Gift City?
Deval, as you said that you are in Ahmedabad and you don't talk about Gift City, it's really criminal.
Yeah.
I have been Joint Development Commissioner with SEZs in Gift City. I tell you, there is a lot of difference. I am really scared hearing the conversation from a fellow panelist. You know, the problems they are facing, the investors, the developers, all put together. We have a single window clearance in Gift City. I'll divide it into two things. The advantages, tax part we'll talk later on, and how fast this works. Gift City is divided into two parts. One is the Gift City SEZ and another is the IFSC, where financial institutions are there. Now, coming to the procedures and all, it's really single window clearance in the sense that you have SEZ online, you fill the forms, like that if it's a private limited company, the directors, all balance sheets, income tax returns, everything you give for the last 5 years. You give your project report. Within 7 to 8 days, you will be getting a call to appear before the Unit Approval Committee. The Unit Approval Committee comprises of the Development Commissioner, Income Tax Additional Commissioner from GST, and from state government like district and industries, 2 or 3, to name a few. And now IFSC representative is also there. So I think in the interview, it's virtually a formality because your papers are already scanned before you come. The questions are ready. And let me tell you, we've gone to that extent that we pass on the questions to the incoming gentlemen so that they are ready.
Ready the answer.
It's all on email. There's no handwritten or computer this thing, you know. So it's very easy. Within 15 days, everything is, all clearances are given. Then you have to give a acceptance of letter of approval within 45 days, and you can start your businesses. And you get all the exemptions also. Regarding tax benefits, I'll talk at the later stage. Thank you.
Sure. Sir, relating to, you have already discussed about the procedure for obtaining the letter of approval. So just one query, does a real estate developer get into Gift City?
Yeah, they are really scampering for it. There is no space. In all, Gift City per se, in the processing area is around 237 hectares. And the non-processing zone is 600 and odd hectares. I don't remember the exact figure. But it's around 1,000 hectares. And there's a queue for the developers and the co-developers to join. Nila is one of them.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Amit, as a fund manager, to attract foreign capital, what are the key legal compliances required by a real estate developer? Do you think the developers are ready with those sort of compliances in India? If no, how can we improve the compliance to ensure better transparency?
Thank you. I think we're living in an amazing time where everybody knows everything. So everybody sitting here knows what is RERA, what is IBC, what is Sarkhedi, everybody knows everything. So now nobody can hide things under the carpet and say, nahi, nahi, aisa hi hota hai. Sabko malum hai kya karne ka hai. Everybody knows which court to go and how to drag the developer, you know, to whichever forum they want. So I think one is that this awareness has gone up, which obviously means that the evolution of jurisprudence and evolution of regulations has to continue and be sharper and be more consumer centric, so that the issues still being faced by consumers and other stakeholders can be addressed faster and with a very finite outcome. It's not left to chance. In terms of compliance, I have seen a sea change. Today the big are getting bigger and the non-compliant are disappearing. So I don't think there's any room for people who can get away with law. There's no room. I mean, because even Tihar is full, so there's no room for anybody left. You know, so you're out of business because now there's no room for somebody who's not compliant. So I think one is first and foremost is that if you're compliant, you're in business. When you're in business and you're compliant, then capital will follow, customers will follow, and all other stakeholders will follow you. RERA is one of the foremost compliances required. It's of course unfortunate that RERA is not strictly followed or dispensed or crafted equally in all states. There are certain guidelines, there are certain general principles by which RERA operates in most states, but there is still a very, very big difference between what a Maharashtra does or a Gujarat does and what a UP does. Some are extraordinary, like I think Maharera in Maharashtra is a leader when it comes to implementing RERA. They enforce quarterly reporting, they enforce compliance reports every quarter. Errand developers are pulled up. Almost 200 projects were asked to be deregistered because they were not falling within the ambit of RERA, and notices were issued as to why they should not be deregistered. So there are a lot of things that a RERA can do. We've seen also, surprisingly, in the state of UP, where everything else doesn't seem to work sometimes, that the UP RERA has actually taken away a project from a developer, handed it over to the Residents Association for completion. You know, so you don't need to go to NCLT, you don't need to go to anywhere else. RERA has been a huge reconciliation and solution-based forum. I mean, it's also got its own tribunal. So I think there is a sea change. What can be done more? I think lots of things can be done more. First, I think there are just too many fora for legal recourse shopping. Consumers can go to Consumer Forum, RERA, NCLT, High Courts, you know, Metropolitan Courts. There are just too many recourses. Some of them don't even have an outcome or are very, very long drawn. So I think like we talked about IBC requiring a sea change when it comes to dealing with real estate. I think it's essential that other acts, whether it is Consumer Forum or whether it is RERA, need to be further empowered, streamlined, and be made more relevant for consumers to, and also for other stakeholders, including investors, to approach and get their answers from or get their resolutions from, and having more legal teeth. Right now it's a quasi-legal body. It needs to have more legal teeth, it needs to have more power like a court to be able to dispense justice. So in terms of compliance, as I said, any developer which is following RERA to the T, following the local development norms to the T, is compliant with tax and local authority regulations, I think is a clear winner as far as buyers and investors are concerned, because then they have no risk of any adverse impact or action by any of the other agencies against these projects and developers. So, and I think that's the other beauty of RERA, that it requires you to disclose all your litigations on the website. It requires to disclose what is it that you've done, what are your building plans, what have you sold, what are your contracts. Everything needs to be disclosed. Now, the issue is only about implementation. Is it getting implemented? So those who follow it, and funds like us ensure that they follow. Because if they don't follow, they're not deserving of a capital. It's a mandatory requirement for investors, for institutional investors, to go to those parties who have that track record, who are willing to do it, have the necessary framework and systems in place to actually be very, very compliant. So I don't think there are two ways about it. Having said that, because it's a very large and a very evolving function, today compliance, legal and regulatory has become a very important department in every developer's organization. It's a very important department in our organization. So I think those who have that organization strength are clearly people who can deal with it and can keep on keeping pace with the evolution of the regulatory landscape.
Sure. Nicely put, Amit. Anyways, I have also attended a lot of court cases wherein asset is been discussed, and trust me guys, the lawyer will discuss each and every clause in the agreement. So I'm sure everything that is put out is extremely important and has certain value attached to it. Thanks Amit for that. Prashant ji, continuing with what Amit said, coming to you, we hear a lot of developers say that we are RERA compliant, and they boast about it, you know. Is that really so? I mean, don't think that you're a developer as of now. You're just a panel member. What steps are required to ensure that they are fully RERA compliant, if they are not? And what legal recourse can be made available for timely dispute resolution?
Thank you, Deval. Amit bhai covered some of the points which I need to be there with the RERA. But now I am not with the standard answer I am just giving. I am just sharing my experience to it. Sure. We have recently applied for the RERA for our scheme at Gift City. We have frequently visited the RERA and observed some of the things. First thing is, Gujarat is really a front runner with the RERA, and they are just innovative, tech savvy, transparent, and they are doing excellently good. I think whoever developers have passed this procedure and get that certificate from the RERA, any developer could not say that, any project could not say that they are not RERA compliant, because there are a lot of formalities are being set it out, lot of norms has to be. So whatever the guidelines being set out by the government have been implemented at the Gujarat. Some of the states are not following those things. So I think Gujarat, any project who are saying that they are RERA compliant, I think they are.
Okay.
Okay. Second thing, they are resolving the complaint very fast. They are giving a guidelines to the developers, each developers on each part. It might be the marketing material, it might be the legal agreements. So whatever things you have talked about the standardized agreement, I think all the agreements have been uploaded to the website. They have each clause, they have validated, and if they feel that these are on the part of the developer one-sided, they are compulsorily force us to change those clauses. So any contract at, with the RERA registered site projects might be the completely fully RERA compliant, and they are equally now prior to this RERA implementation, developer have that scope to make lopsided agreement, but with the RERA they are working on behalf of the purchaser or client. I think this may be.
I'll just add 1 minute to what Prashant ji said, and he's completely right. I did mention Maharashtra and Gujarat, or Maharashtra and Gujarat as being front runners. But to supplement your question, Deval, I'll say that you have to be RERA registered. I think there's no doubt about it. I think today even a consumer will not step into the sales office if he doesn't see a RERA number. So I think there is no doubt. But the question of compliance is, are you uploading all the data on a quarterly basis?
Yeah.
Are you keeping that record current and standard? Are you ensuring that all your sales are registered? Are you putting all your legal cases? Are you putting all your plans, approvals and other data online? Are you putting your 70/30 account compliance online? Now that is the bigger challenge, because that people once they register से license मिल गया, अभी जो करने का करो.
Yeah.
तो कौन आने वाला है अपने ऑफिस में पूछने को? रेरा नंबर लगा दिया, हो गया काम, अभी सेल्स बेचने का काम करने का. So that is one issue where we see when we do due diligence on projects, that post-registration number of quarters are there where filings have not been done.
Yeah.
Now, because if you don't have that filing and you don't have that authentic data, then what is compliance? Second is, अगर मैंने अभी जैसे ना we used to joke in school that you have to fill pages.
Yeah.
You know, बीच में ऐसा गाना भी लिख दिया तो पढ़ने का टाइम किसको है? So if you're uploading trash, who has the audit of RERA data? Who's auditing that data? You know, who's confirming that what you mentioned is correct or wrong? So I think the scope is there, but the bandwidth and the ability of the authority itself to actually monitor and enforce compliance is, I think, one ongoing issue in my mind. I think that is something which has to be brought out in a big force, that given the total value of assets being transacted, this is a very important authority and it has to have more bandwidth, more technology, more power, more ability to monitor and dispense. I think that is one challenge I'm seeing, Prashantji, because I've studied RERA files of several hundreds of projects each year, and I find this as a big issue.
So we are the first developer who have registered our RERA registration in 2.0 with the fastest registration within the 12 hours from the plan pass.
Right.
Okay. So RERA is right now at the nascent stage. Why we have applied for the 2.0? What is 2.0 RERA? So we rightly said that the compliances need to be checked manually. Now RERA 2.0, all the compliances which are uploaded automatically, like the SEBI, they are based on the AI tools, they are going to upload those things. Yeah. They are making more stringent norms to incent. So that's why some of the developers are not trying to, there might be some loopholes also in the scheme right now and not having, but we think that 2.0 is more stringent and more compliant part. And AI-based compliances might be the...
so compliments to you, Prashantji. You just sold Nila very well here. So I'll be the first person to come to Nila, because if you're following, RERA 2.0, I think that's fantastic. So compliments to that. It's very hard to find people who are willing to go down that path. The other thing about dispute resolution, what RERA doesn't do is advertise.
Yeah.
They have a fantastic mechanism by which they have a mediation cell, which comprises of home buyers, it comprises of developer bodies, it comprises of ex-judicial members, and it's a beautiful association of people who can actually resolve issues which are actually created because of lack of communication first.
Yeah.
It's never, what I've seen is that 8 or 9 out of 10 cases of disputes are actually a communication issue. I didn't get this, I was not told this, why did you do this, etc., etc., etc. It's mistrust that gets created over time. Okay, yeah. Everybody is a willing buyer, but it's an issue of mistrust.
Yeah.
So that body is what creates that forum for resolving a trust, because you've got all stakeholders there. I think that is a very powerful body. I mean, I've represented there, several of our friends sit there. Plus, it also is a tribunal and an appellate body, where again the people who are sitting there are fairly sharp people. They understand ye kya karne ka hai.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, people don't even know where to start. How do you go to RERA? How do you address issues? That is why they keep on forum shopping. Somebody will say, one lawyer will say, chalo IBC chalte hain, fees zyada milega, to chalo IBC chalte hain. So there are a lot of this noise, I think. So I think RERA has a very beautiful mechanism inbuilt, but it's just that not well propagated, not well documented, not well easily available. People don't talk enough. But you're right, Gujarat and Maharashtra are effectively leaders when it comes to RERA.
Sure. And Amit, I think as fund houses, indirectly you help developers comply, because you spoke about legal and compliance department in your fund. I'm sure they would be checking how the developer is compliant or not, and I'm sure projects which are funded are probably better complied than what projects which are not funded, is what I would assume, and I'm sure indirectly you're helping the customer buy the right product. So that's how it is. Anandji, my next question would be to you. You spoke about Gift City. Now, from a tax benefit perspective, what are the various tax benefits for normal units in Gift SEZ, and what are the tax benefits for an IFSCA unit in the Gift SEZ?
Yeah, I'll answer in two parts.
Sure.
See, Gujarat has been forefront as far as SEZ is concerned. Gujarat was the first state to have incorporated Gujarat's SEZ Act in 2004.
Correct.
Center came out later in 2005 bringing this act. Now everybody knows that GIFT and IFSC are the Honorable Prime Minister's dream projects. But emotions don't matter.
Yeah.
Ultimately what matters is benefit. Businessman वहीं जाएगा जहाँ उसको tax benefit या naturally कुछ benefit मिलेगा. Now SEZs per se, I'll tell you, they have withdrawn all the tax benefits pertaining to income tax.
Okay.
पहले हुआ करता था 100% income tax for 10 years, then 50% for 5 years. That is all discontinued. 18% MAT remains, and small tax exemptions like GST and other taxes are exempted, stamp duty and all. They are all still exempted in SEZ per se, in GIFT City. But as far as IFSC is concerned, the income tax benefits remain same, 100% for the first 10 years, then 50% for the next 5 years, and the MAT is only 9%.
Okay.
And all the other exemptions like stamp duty and all other taxes are exempted. So that is the best part, because we want to compete with the world financial hubs like London and Dubai and Singapore. So we have no choice. Every day, you know, some announcement is there, and every day new units are coming up. So I have a latest updated list day before yesterday.
Sure, sure.
Now, yesterday there was a unit approval committee. So it would be wrong to say that this is a perfect list.
Sure,
but
sir.
to name a few, I can definitely throw some light in which areas IFSC has been prevailing. It has capital markets, as you would know, latest being the SGX being shifted to GIFT SEZ.
Absolutely.
Then there is aircraft leasing. We have ancillary financial services, broking services, bullion trading. We have fintech. We have banking units. We have bullion also, to name a few. So we are on an expansion free. Now, see, it's very easy to announce in the parliament.
Yeah.
But when it comes to implementation,
yeah.
I'll talk about, there was a scheme 2 years back when the FM had announced. It was called Desh, if I'm not mistaken. But it didn't see the light of the day.
Yeah.
There was a clash between the Commerce and Finance Ministry. So it's easy to announce, but luckily, whatever said and done, SEBI and all the regulators are very efficient. We ought to be very careful in our country. I'm sorry to use the word, we are jugadus.
Yeah, we are.
We ought to be very careful, and the regulators are realistic. They take their own sweet time. And I appreciate it's going to happen. See, if they are going to be careless, we are doomed.
Yeah.
And this is a financial market. I mean, the consequences could be
immense.
unbearable
Yeah.
and immense.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I think we are running short of time. I would ask one last question. Mudit, I would first ask you to answer this. How, according to you, will the role of legal change in the next 3 years in real estate, and how would the relevant stakeholders benefit from it?
So, firstly, yes, nowadays due to technology, you should keep horizon for 3 years only, because there would be sea change if we ask for 7 years or something. Now, see, law is a dynamic thing, so is a legal profession. It keeps on evolving itself along with the economy, along with the market, everything. It has to keep its pace along with all that. So technology is one thing, you know, which is definitely going to see a lot of changes. In Gujarat, it's one of the better managed states. When I speak to my counterparts in other jurisdictions, other states, yes, we are better equipped, land records are better managed. So recently what we have done, like we in the sense, sorry, Gujarat has done is, you get all your certified revenue records online, like by just paying 5 rupees, you get it online, you need not go to the government office. A couple of months back, they have again digitized, and you get SRO encumbrance certificate reports online. There are some initial issues to it, but maybe next couple of months even those will be solved. So basically half of your title diligence effort is now doable on your desktop. We have very good softwares which we as a firm are using, wherein you can do litigation searches across courts. Earlier, no title lawyer or no lawyer used to do it because it's a manual process and no formal mechanism. Now we have very good system in place. Keeping these things in mind, what we have started seeing is there are few startups who are developing a tool or a software for title diligence. Now we as a firm have incubated them. We worked with couple of them, incubated couple of them. It's still a distant dream, but I would say maybe 3 years, yes, we can see. In couple of states, it's working very fantastically, those tools. It will, of course, have to be customized based on states, but that is one area where I think there will be some movement to it. Now, saying about Gujarat market, what I expect is, you know, there will be a lot of, it's still, with all due respect, it's still an unconventional, typical old school real estate market, funding, financing. What we are hearing from the ground is like, there is a lot of capital waiting to be infused in the state. So what we are seeing or expecting is that the way you finance your projects, the way you monetize your assets, We are hearing that people in Gujarat are now keen to have started to think of REITs. I'm not saying that they have planned for it, but they have started to think for REITs, which is actually a very good step per se. We are hearing few developers who are now thinking for AIFs, now, for pooling of investment. Now, 5 years and few years down the line, no one was even thinking.
Yep.
So maybe next 3 years, all these modes of financing, the ways of transaction, we'll see a lot of modernization. We'll see a lot of professionalism and sophistication. That's what my expectation is. Now, drawing from this, yes, your legal profession will also have to change. Your lawyers will also have to be equipped. Now, nationally, yes, we have very good, capable lawyers dealing with all this. As a state, yes, your lawyers will also have to be start advising, start structuring, documenting, working in that fashion for those structures and models in place.
Sure.
And for which, of course, your real estate knowledge is a base knowledge. So you particularly need that. So yes, there will be a lot of scope for improvisation, and there is a lot of scope of innovation I can see in next 3 years.
Yeah. So I genuinely feel that a lot of us felt before the topic that we discussed is legal is actually a barrier to business. But I'm sure this is going to change as legal being an enabler to business. I think that is what we are hinting at.
Correct. That's what we as a law firm, till now, lawyers always think them to be a conventional law office, chambers or setup. But law firms, especially nationalized law firms and tier 1 law firms, we ourselves think as a business enablers.
Sure.
Definitely we do that.
Yeah, thanks. Anand, you have something
The
to say?
silver lining after hearing all this is that we have Singapore Arbitration Center in IFSC. So
Yeah.
we will be free of all these hassles. Thank you.
Sure, sure. So I think we have only few minutes left. Would like to take any queries or any questions from someone. Yeah. And please let us know who you want to ask this question to. It becomes my job becomes easier. Sure. Can I take the privilege to ask someone from the panel? Can I do that? I think Amit would be the perfect guy to answer this, Amit.
It's funny you have to ask, you ask this question because yesterday I was talking to a developer and he was saying कि one of the income tax commissioners told him कि debt ले ले तो दिखेगा कि तो project कैसा खत्म कर रहा है, नहीं तो पता ही नहीं किधर से पैसा आ रहा है और किधर जा रहा है. So developers are taking debt now because they want to show that they are more compliant and more corporate than they were ever before. But you're right, the first answer is correct. There's too much money available locally, and it's easy money maybe, so maybe easy money, I don't know. See, again, let's understand that, see, Gujarat's scale of development has also been limited. Now, when you're doing 200,000 square feet, 300,000 square feet, the amount of capital required is not too much, and most of the land is bought any which ways, it's not a JVJD model anymore in Gujarat, people buy their land, or they're land bankers, so now you need only approval and construction finance. Because you're specialized, you know exactly what product to build, and the sales are very good, the need for debt becomes very low. You need debt when your cycle time is longer, the sales are slower, you need to do more ready inventory sales, then the need for debt becomes more relevant. Ahmedabad, the sales velocity has generally been very healthy, and therefore the need to actually take debt has been very low. Second of all, again, and of course, minded that this is now going to change also with this whole GIFT City scenario, because when you have to build the whole IT park or SEZ, and you have to make it ready and have large corporate occupiers come and take that space, that's when debt will become mandatory. So today I'm seeing anybody who's now in the GIFT City or in the SEZ is actually going and taking bank borrowings, and they're getting that capital also, because they know they have to build a good product. They have to give it to a corporate guy. They have to give it to somebody who's coming from an offshore jurisdiction or coming from Mumbai or any other, you know, sort of sophisticated landscape, and not necessarily a local occupier or consumer. So I think that is a very important factor, which is why I think this mindset that I should not take debt. First, I think it's a very traditional mindset. He said that, as he also Mudit, you know, said that, you know, abhi bhi traditional finance or traditional काम ही होता है अहमदाबाद में कि भाई लैंड लेने का अपना पैसे से और फिर उसके बाद यू नो वी आर द किंग, क्योंकि कुछ नहीं किया तो भी 5 गुना तो पैसा मिलने वाला है लैंड में ही, तो कंस्ट्रक्शन करने के लिए डेट क्यों लेने का, you know. So first of all, I think that is that mindset, and we've seen that also. People who bought land just 3-4 years ago are sitting on a very large multiple on their money. So I think there is, when the land appreciation itself is so high, then where is the need for further, you know, leverage? Unlike in other states where land doesn't appreciate so fast, you know, it's 5%, 6%, 10%. So then you need to obviously take on debt, because then your real money comes from construction. Here people are making money on land, so construction ka to paisa to it's just a, you know, cream on the cake. Cake to already mil gaya hai land se. So I think that is my understanding, to be honest.
Just extending what he said is, I used to work in a fund before I joined Colliers. You mentioned one very interesting point, that the cost of debt is less than the cost of equity. We all understand, but what is important is, when a developer takes any sort of money, what is the sort of structure that it requires? Some projects will require equity even if their cost is very high. So I think whatever stress was created in the last 5 years, Amit would, I'm sure, be okay me mentioning this, was because the developer did not understand that, developer said cost of debt is 12%, 14%, let's take it. But you understand, when you take debt, you're always on a treadmill. You always have to run, because every month interest to bharna padega. You cannot say no. But if the project is of larger cycle, then you definitely require long-term patient capital. And hence, we should never say that debt lena chahiye because cost kam hai. Important is कि कौन सा sort of financing चाहिए उस project को. I think that is more important. Amit, if I may. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, sure, sir.
The first question regarding the occupation certificate. One thing I am sure, AMC doesn't have the jurisdiction to give you occupation certificate. That I can tell you for sure. So Development Commissioner is the ultimate authority, let me tell you, because as I told in the earlier this thing, that the state government authorities are also a part of unit approval committee. So all the plans, you would have got the plans passed from whom? Not from AMC. It is from that committee, I am sure. Sudhir bhai?
Committee is not meeting.
Hi.
I
am sorry.
The challenge is that committee is not meeting.
I assure you, I'll take this up. I assure you. No, I don't believe in talking, Sudhir bhai, you know me. I'll take this up. And with your this thing example, yeah, yeah, because one fine morning some agency will come and catch you by neck. I am sure of it. OC, yeah, I understand. ठीक है. Give me 24 hours, sir. 24 hours, please. Thank you.
second part I would like to answer is, the second part of the question was that why developers are not selling property on the carpet rate. You please visit the Vida at Gift City. We are not providing any super built up rates. We are not saying any other charges being separately charged. We are saying the one rate, that is X rate, is being given to the all my purchaser and buyer, and it is a carpet rate. So there are no GST separately being charged, no maintenance charges, everything being included, and only one price being told by the same. We might losing some customers out of it who are not understanding the right spirit of it, but when they compare it with our price, they have rightly understand that we are saying the competitive rate than the other developers.
Sure.
But we are not saying and selling any super built up rate area. Second thing, the Gift City, about some of the questions are coming in, so I would like to Gift City right now, in the general perspective, people are seeing that it's a part of Gujarat, it's nearby Ahmedabad place, but it's not like that. It's an international place where the developers are coming from the international community. And the benefits out of it is just for the international community, not a, so by the vision they have developed this city in such a way that unmatched infrastructure is available there. The norms for constructing and building the building is absolutely different from the others. In Gujarat, when we are purchasing a property, we are not asking the property life, which is generally 50 years being set out by any structural engineer, where gift has mandatorily 75% of gift buildings life cycle is being proposed there,
Sure.
which might have more than 20% of cost. Second thing, earthquake prone zone, Ahmedabad is into the zone 3. They are just setting a standard that we have to develop a building for the earthquake zone 4. So it's a one up. Again, it would have an additional cost. So property at gift having lots of benefit of it, where we are seeing that many of the development are coming in, redevelopment of the properties in the 30 years, where any property at the world level would not more than 875 to 100 years there need to be. So gift is just creating a properties like that, and I think this fact might not be available to the all people of the Gujarat. So thank you.
Do we have time? No, okay.
Just a minute. Sudhir bhai, I got your answer. It's a three-man committee consisting of the developer, the development commissioner, and the state government authority. ये तीन की committee होती है. They pass your plans and give you the occupation certificate. This is a confirmed answer I am giving you in presence of everybody. I can't hear you, Sudhir bhai. Last 10 years में तो
But I mean, sir, if you allow me, sir, what I would suggest is after the session, you and Anand bhai can definitely have a cup of
we'll
coffee
work it out.
together.
Not an issue.
I think that's better.
I immediately passed on the message, and this is what I got. Sudhir bhai, I'm sorry to interrupt, but let me assure you one thing. In 3 years when I was in charge, I never received this application. Now I am not there, but during the 3 years, had I got this application, this question would not have come today. No. It has to be. No, you are not wrong. You are definitely right. As I told you, any government authority will come and catch you by neck. And you will be put to blame. Authorities will not be put to blame. I am sorry to say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll help you out, don't worry.
Sir, he will surely after this session. Please do reach out to him. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I think we need to wrap up, right? Thank you everyone. I think it was a very difficult topic to discuss, but I think the panel did a fantastic job to explain it in the best possible way. Huge round of applause for them. Thank you so much.
In fact, for this panel, I would like to quote in Gujarati that Bhagya એટલે શું? સાચા સમયે ને સાચી જગ્યાએ સાચા માણસોનો સંગ. So that's a very, very knowledgeable panel we had today. So thank you so much, Anand, for doing the honors and appreciating your being here on the panel discussion. May I request Mr. Ruchir Oza, founder and managing director of Solvo Elevators, to please come up on the stage and present a memento of appreciation from us. So we go with the moderator first, Mr. Deval Valia. Thank you so much. You moderated it very, very well. Mr. Deval Valia is a senior director and head, West India Capital Markets and Investment Services, Colliers, India. Mr. Amit Goenka, managing director and CEO, Nisus Finance. Mr. Anand Jagtiani, IRS, retired planner, strategist, Versatile Tech Solutions. Mr. Mudit Shah, partner, Cyril, Amarchand, Mangaldas. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Prashant Sarkhedi, director, Nila Spaces Limited. And I request Ms. Ruchi Rosa to please join us for the photo up. Can we have a huge round of applause for all the panelists, ladies and gentlemen?